I would recommend, everybody has different methods that they respond to. And I think that, for me, it's not just about memorizing where an appellation is. It's about knowing everything else surrounding it. And like I said, connecting the dots and having the background, because then you'll just remember it for a minute and it'll be gone.
To prepare for theory properly, you really need to identify what sort of learner you are. For me, I didn't pass my first advanced because I had these, they were more like note cards than flashcards, all of this written information on them. None of it went into my brain. So, identified that I was an auditory learner, and I put all of my whatever 2,500 flashcards on tape. Asked the question, what are the subregions of Rias-Baixas, space, answer. Next question, Loire. Next question, cocktails. It's 15 cassettes. I listened to those things for 3 months before my MS exam, doing my mise en place at work, going back and forth at the gym. Best of all, when I went to sleep at night, I would put the cassette player, I think it was a Walkman, on like loop, so it would play one side and then the other. And that stuff particularly is deeply embedded in my subconscious to this day. I'm almost at 20 years, so 20 years.
I think the most important thing about studying theory is to remember that it's all connected. The more you can ask yourself, why is this the way that it is? Why are these grape varieties grown in this particular place? What is it about the soil or the climate? Or what is it about the aspect of this vineyard that facilitates this viticulture, etc. The more you can wrap it all together, the easier it is to remember. Memorizing like 15,000 disparate facts is not possible. So it needs to be a holistic view of every region within country, etc.
Strategy for studying theory, that I bet there's a lot of disparate answers on that. So for me, I had to learn how I learned. I never went to college, so I never had a real study system. So everyone said at the beginning, you have to draw maps. You draw maps, you'll be able to recall it, because there's obviously, as you well know, a ton of information you have to have at instant recall. So I tried that. I tried visual learning techniques for a couple of years, and I was putting in so much time, and I'd get in the exam room and I couldn't pull anything. And so what I did is I changed my approach and decided I would try a more auditory way of learning. So I made all these recordings of myself, listened to them when I was on a run, put them on compact discs, remember those, played them in my car on the way to and from work on my commute, and found that the information really started to stick when I took that learning.
I overcame the hurdle of getting through theory by quitting my job and taking on one that was focused in wine. I was the director of operations, and my passion is business and operations. I think that once people pass, they get into something a little bit more unique or a little bit more focused. A lot of people will fall in love with Burgundy or go deep into Champagne. And for me, I go deep into operations and business. I really find that riveting. And I had that job already, but the Master Sommelier exam and certification was really important to me, and I had gone so far that I actually quit that position and started a new position with a larger company to become their beverage director so that I can focus on teaching. And in teaching people, the onus was on me to know that information, so that really helped me overcome all of the time management, the theory, being able to be prepared for my students and my mentees and our employees, really helped me overcome it. I think it was the only way that I could have done it, was for people to have to depend on me to know that, rather than me depending on myself.
So while you're here,
Studying for theory was an interesting one. I really quickly had to learn what sort of learner I was. And for me, it was really important to have visuals. And so there was a couple of ways that I worked with this. One of them was to create a lot of acronyms with the first letter of each of the words, or words that sounded similar, because I felt like I was memorizing these just long lists of names that were really tricky. And so by having like an acronym that I could follow, one of my favorites that I've actually seen being used quite a bit now is north to south, the villages of Beaujolais. Sometimes Japanese Canadians marry French Canadians, making really beautiful children. Like, you can't forget that. And then when you go back to those first letters of each of those words, there you are. It's the Cruise of Beaujolais.
Walking into the Master Sommelier Theory exam, it's a little bit of there's no lions or tigers or bear. There's just a couple of people who are rooting hard for you, kind of hanging out at a table, waiting for you to blow them away with your wealth of knowledge and information. It's a little underwhelming when you walk into the room, and I think that all of a sudden kind of throws people off. And there's no fanfare in that room. There's just you and knowledge and a bottle of water and your time to shine.
They will see two master sommeliers there ready to read them a set of very fair questions to understand and let the candidate show how much they know. When you walk into that room, you should be focusing on the fact that of the 80% of the stuff that you do know, and have confidence in that and visualize and project your success. Don't walk in there dreading the 20% of stuff that you don't think you know and having that be this negative influence that you focus on, right? We've gotten to this pursuit of perfection. Nobody's going to know everything all the time. You know a lot. Remember that. Live in that. Revel in that. Don't let the stuff that you don't know dominate your thinking and your experience.
When going into theory at the Master Sommelier level, it's really different because it's oral, and it's really important to understand how you pull up information and how you regurgitate it in an oral setting. So to start to practice that and be prepared to not only face the nerves of speaking to someone and responding with your answers, but also just knowing that you don't have the luxury of sitting and skipping through questions and going back and all that. So it does feel very different, definitely a different degree of stress.
If you get a little bungled up on the theory exam, or if you hit a question or two that you're not familiar with the answer, I think it's important to handle it in the same exact way that you would if you were in service. Or maybe you're at pre-shift, or you're working with a rep and they ask you a question, did you know the answer? You would take that as an opportunity and you would say, oh, you know what, that's gonna be something I'm really interested in, that I wanna check that out later. Or I'm gonna look that up so I'll have the answer next time, and you move on. You don't get stuck on it. You don't let it kind of jolt or ruin your approach to the next batch of questions. It's, not knowing the answer is an exclusive, independent event that shouldn't impact anything that happens after it. You didn't know the answer, and you've moved on, and you're done, and it's a very, very separate experience from anything else that's happening, almost the way that I hear, I'm a hockey nut, and I hear people a lot of time talk to goalies about, oh, you let in a bad goal, how do you make the next save? And they all say, the next save has nothing to do with what happened before. And I think that's important to not get rattled.